Another thing that causes some confusion amongst people I know who bought property is the community of owners. Community of owners is a major feature of the property business in Spain. Can you just explain to us what it is?
Yeah, the community of owners is a community that is the owner of those areas. That's when you are owner of a property that enjoys common areas. For instance, a block of apartments. Within the block of apartments, you have a common reception. You have the corridors. You have elevators. You have a garden. You have swimming pool. You have some areas that are not of private use and ownership of each one of the individuals. Those common areas are owned by everybody according to the share. The share is distributed according to the square meters that you have for private use. You have that percentage as well within the common areas. That community is set up by all the owners, and there's got to be a president. The president is one of the owners. Sometimes it's established in different ways, depending on the community, by turns, or some people could be a volunteer to be president. And they are assisted by one professional called Administrador de Fincas, which is a kind of, we can say, a kind of a chartered accountant that is specialized to deal with communities. So this is the type of professional that is really taking care of the payments, accountancy, drafting and doing the minutes of the general meeting, so the president doesn't have to worry about I'm going to become owner of a property in Spain, I'm going to end up being the president of the community, and I am afraid that I don't have the qualifications to do it. This is not something to be worried about, because there is an administrador de fincas, there is an accountant that is assisting the president in absolutely everything. And this governs the budget, this governs the economy of the community.
So keeping it very simple, if you own an apartment in a block of 10 apartments and they're all roughly the same size, you're going to own your apartment, the interior part of your apartment, and you're going to own roughly 10% of the gardens, the corridors, the parking areas, the roof, and everything else that is used in common by the community.
That's correct.
And with that right to own those assets comes the obligation to pay 10% of the costs of maintaining them. So all of the cost of cleaning, repair, maintenance, and so on, administration, you will have to pay 10% of that.
Correct. The general meeting is having a meeting to decide what is going to be the budget of next year. And we have to decide this type of services, we want to include that, this. So at the end, you make the budget and you distribute the annual budget in between 10 owners.
And so you and your fellow owners would get together and you would say, right, it's time we painted the outside of the building. You'd vote for it, and if they said yes, then the building would be painted and you'd have to pay your share of it.
Correct.
Yes. How well do communities work in Spain? Do most of them work administratively very well, or do you have many problems?
I really consider that this is really working very well. These accountants, they are really highly qualified professionals, that they are delivering a good job for really reasonable fees to the communities, and they're really governing the community very well. Also, in respect, I have to say that the evolution of the defaulting rate has been to very, very minimum, because the law was really giving for some court process longer procedures to claim the debts. But this is actually working in a much more speedily way. When someone is defaulting, the administrator and the president of the community can start up a court case that is going very quickly to even repossession if the owner doesn't really pay, and therefore the payment that we can see within hundreds and thousands of clients that we have is in pretty good order with the communities, and therefore if the budget is really calculated correctly and the services are not exceeding those ones that were estimated at the beginning of the year, the communities are really working well. So in that sense, we have a good experience with this.
And people often ask, what happens if I disagree? What happens if I don't agree that the outside should be painted? Well, the answer is if you don't pay, then eventually the community can take your property. They can make you in default and seize your house.
Exactly.
Not immediately, but that is the threat.
If it's voted by the majority, is a decision that
Yes.
is a binding decision for every owner of the community.
Yes.
And therefore, if you don't pay, the community has the right to claim the debt against the property,
Yes.
and will cause registration of the debt. And of course, it will push this procedure until up to the end, that is eventually even repossession.
So people buying a property need to understand this, and they need to abide by their obligations.
Yes.
The other obligation, apart from paying towards the cost of repair, is to follow the rules of the community, because each community has a set of rules that the people living in the block have to follow.
Yeah.
And that could be no pets, you can't run businesses from this community, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's an important document which people or their lawyers need to read before they buy the property, particularly if they own pets or if they want to run a business.
Exactly. There are really two sets of rules to be respected by every owner that is member of a community. The first set of rules is the statutes. The statutes are normally very standard. They are registered at the land registry, and therefore, because the law is regulating that you have to have unanimity to get them approved, is a very basic set of rules, very standard, registered, and every community is working with the same statutes. In respect of the other set of regulations, this is very important, and we inform to all our clients about this. This is called Reglamento Interno. Reglamento Interno is like an internal set of rules that have been voted by the majority of the owners, and is regulating about the time to use the swimming pool, pets, when we can drop the bins the rubbish at the bins of the community. This can we do barbecue? Yeah. These type of things are all regulated within Reglamento Interno, and this is very important to be known by the buyers of that property, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to buy a legal property, but everybody wants to enjoy a peaceful community as well, and know about the rules that he will be having to respect when ownership is.
We've talked about communities in terms of blocks of apartments. Of course, many communities are blocks of apartments, but they're not just blocks of apartments. If you buy one of 10 villas that shares a common pool, for example, you will be a member of a community, you will own your villa, and you'll own 1/10 of the pool. So this isn't just something that applies to apartments, it applies to any situation where you have joint use of facilities.
That's correct. In fact, in Costa del Sol, it's very common to buy a villa that is part of the community, that sometimes these communities are limited to only a few things that have in common, but there is a community to do that. And sometimes, even for villas, there's a good range of services that they enjoy together. And
Well, it can take away the problem of organizing repairs and redecoration of your property and mowing the lawn and all that sort of thing. That can all be arranged, if the statutes say so, by the community. So it's really a very useful tool.
Correct.